Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocketradio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
It is Coffee Ann on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us on Thursday morning. It's March the 21st. I'm Joe Callahan, and at the Coffee Ann table with me this morning, we'll say good morning to Sue Tessier-McKenzie from the Blackstone Valley Call-in-Times. Hello, Sue.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. And State Senator Roger Pickard has joined us at the Coffee Ann panel. Hello there, Roger.
Good morning. How are you today?
Nice to have you here. We're well this morning. We're a little chilly, but,
Yeah.
still got to keep the sweaters on. And Attorney Bob Lauder could not be with us today. Court calls. So
Well, there you go.
He's got to go make money, and that's what he does. So, but we hopefully Bob can join us next week. But it's nice that Roger can step in. He'll be here for about a half an hour or so. And so we haven't seen Roger in quite a while. Is everything going well?
Things are well.
Excellent.
Busy time of the year.
How did you put any bills in this year down there at the State House?
I put a few.
Anything that was sexy and exciting?
Some having to do with educational funding aid, which is
okay.
a huge issue here.
That's big.
In the community. About trying to either get more monies or ways of handling certain expenses through another department, if you will, that help offset some of the cost. It all has come down to the funding formula, and are they willing to reopen it one more time?
Do you run up against senators from other communities that just say, no, I don't want to do it your way, Roger?
No, I mean...
It hurts us if we do it your way, or anything like that.
Well, there is some reality to that when contemplating the entire educational funding formula. But with that being said, would everybody love more money for the communities for education? Absolutely. And then you throw in some of the ongoing issues that going, which is happening, like here in Woonsocket with the Rise Academy, and more kids going to charter schools and funding following them, and then even like the subtleness of the budget, the monies we receive from the state right now. I'm going to use arbitrary numbers, $82 million. Okay. And then within that, you go like there's certain set categories that monies have to be spent in. And what happened this year is almost flat amount of money going right now, proposed by the governor from last year. But they delegated some of the monies that you could use for anything that you wanted into very specified categories. So one becomes more happy, if you will, because they get more money in that category. But then the other ones, which are where you were spending the money that you wanted to keep spending the money on, no longer have the funding. So that becomes an issue. So it's not just the amount of money, but how it's delegated to the communities with or without strings.
Do you have to put that in the bill? There's a certain amount of money, but then...
It's in the formula.
Okay.
It's in the formula. It has categoricals like high-intensity special ed, ELL, or whatever the new term for that, that type, high poverty level. So, yes, some of these categories haven't always been funded to their max in the past. Now they're trying to put more monies into it at the expense of monies going into like your general, checkbook, if you will, where you can spend it anywhere.
You following all this, Sue?
Get the little glaze over there, yeah.
No, I'm totally listening because I'm just going to go there. Because March is Brain Injury Awareness Month, and I know that the Brain Injury Association of Rhode Island has been to Washington and Capitol Hill, Capitol Hill, at the state and federal level, trying to get more funding, trying to get more. So my brain's thinking of the involvement in getting a bill passed. Like right now, yes, there is funding for traumatic brain injuries, but they don't recognize anoxic brain injuries. And what my husband has an anoxic brain injury. But it's not about him. It's about what's going on in the country with overdose. So those that, many that suffer an overdose and, God only knows how long they were down and then they get Narcan and whatever, there are many that end up with an anoxic brain injury. So I guess my question, based on where you just said monies are delegated, and and I'm going to use the term piggyback, which may be an incorrect term,
Yeah,
but I'm
it's
going to
okay.
use it anyway.
I follow you.
So where funding is going towards, drug epidemic,
Yeah.
okay, anoxic brain injuries, which many are the result of
Some
drug
of
overdose,
Yep.
Piggybacking and trying to get funding for anoxic brain injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But because only 2 states in the country recognize anoxic brain injuries, and Rhode Island's not one of them, Rhode Island has I'm going to go there, very, very poor funding for brain injuries in general, whereas the state of Massachusetts, just over the line, has amazing programs to help those, because people think, car accident, slip and fall, whatever. Those are all traumatic brain injuries. But in the state of Massachusetts, they have a program where men with brain injuries go for a day program, because unfortunately a brain injury can can cause memory loss and confusion and so on. So they can't be left alone. They have to go to a day program.
Mm-hmm.
When they go to this day program, however, in the state of Massachusetts, there are 3 that work. So these guys go to this program and they work while they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a huge program, and it does so much mentally, physically, emotionally for these individuals. And the state of Rhode Island has nothing like that. So that's where, when you're talking about all this, where the money goes and so on, that's where my brain was. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yes, education's crucial and important and must continue, but
So, to kind of go to your question, let's talk about the whole budget. Start with that.
okay.
The budget is the number one piece of legislation we pass every year. Okay, you can pass all the laws that you want. You can say we're going to create this program.
Yeah.
You don't fund it, it's not going anywhere. So when you see a budget pass or a budget proposed, you know what the priorities are within there. Okay, now the budget we passed this past year was the highest budget I've ever voted on. Whatever it was, $13 billion,
Right.
that type of thing. $5 billion of that plus change is Rhode Island taxes generating that revenue, where the rest is all from the federal government. Okay, so now you going back to what I was talking about, if Rhode Island spends X amount of dollars in this category, the feds will match that type of thing. That comes
Yeah.
into play. With that being said, let's use these arbitrary numbers again. Say the governor proposed a $10 billion budget this year, and I don't remember exactly the number. There is probably another $1 billion worth of asks by people going down there, all for wonderful
Okay.
programs.
Yeah.
Okay, or the expansion of programs, or just a natural increase, because everything costs more, as
Right,
we all
right.
know. There's a rule of thumb, 2 to 3% increase in governmental expenditures, even without spending more money in new categories, whatever, stuff like that. With the general thought process that you're going to get 1% increase in revenue. So there's always that natural
Right.
stressor.
Now,
Yeah.
just a quick question to
Yeah.
interrupt. So the funding, does that involve grants?
Again,
Oh, well, and the reason I say that, again, when I'm stuck on the
Right.
brain injury thing, there's a neural navigator here, there are 2, I think, in the state of Rhode Island, and they're there on grants.
grants from the state, grants from the feds.
Well, that's what I'm not
Yeah, and
sure
I- and I-
of. Okay,
and I
that's
don't
why
know-
I,
And I know usually like human service agencies or people who deliver like certain types of medical assistance, they receive their revenue from multiple
okay,
grants, direct cash outlays from the federal government, from the state government, anything they can generate themselves. So sometimes their revenue source is very complicated.
oh, yeah.
And I don't know the specifics
Right,
of that.
right.
But going directly to your question, if that's something that we fund one person and a portion and not recognizing something else, what's the process? Well, you want to make sure it gets recognized, right? So whatever, maybe a department who helps deal with those issues through either human service agencies or private industries outside, should come to the General Assembly with these individuals, say, hey, look, this is something that's becoming a crisis, something that we need to do, something that we should start funding. And then it gets in the discussion, if you will. Whether it gets funded or not, that's always
Right.
the big argument, right? But it sounds like a very worthwhile way to go with some money.
Yeah, and again, many people don't even think, with my husband, his brain injury occurred due to cardiac arrest. But I was talking to a number of people. I've talked to anybody that listens. And they say, oh my God, I never thought of the drug epidemic causing these brain injuries.
Until you direct, for the most part, it seems a rule of thumb. Unless you're directly affected, sometimes you don't really understand.
Nope.
You may have a cursory understanding. Somebody mentions it in passing, so you understand it to the level that you understand it until one day you're actually exposed to it and you have to deal with it.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden you go, oh my God.
Yep, and that's unfortunately, and again, I apologize if I keep talking about brain injuries, but this is Brain Injury Awareness Month, and so many people are, brought into the ER due to a car accident or a slip and fall or a bike accident or whatever. And they are misdiagnosed because people don't know to ask the question. And that's where the first step of awareness is A, preventative, wear your helmets, et cetera, seatbelt, and B, asking the right questions when you are in that position.
Yeah, that comes down to training too,
Exactly.
and time.
Exactly, which is also part of the funding.
Right,
Yes.
Staffing, yes.
All right. Any other bills?
Besides the educational bill?
Yeah, besides education.
A couple of insurance type of things, which I can tell you they're boring because when we hold...
Boring.
No. It's funny. I sit on the Commerce Committee I used to chair at one point, and I would have what I would call Insurance Day or DBR Day, the Department of Business Regulations. Because they're coming with very important stuff, but to the point that it's not stuff people think about all the time.
Right.
And I can look at my colleagues, and you can see their eyes like, what the heck are they talking about? It's like, remember when you were in high school and you start hearing concepts that you never, calculus, and they're going over your head like zing, 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 like, it's not something that you do all the time. So yes, they're not all that sexy.
All right.
That type of thing.
All right. But they're important.
Yeah. One of the interesting perspectives that I got out of our issue that I got out of a meeting when we had with the mayor and the city council and the school department was pilot money. Can we use pilot money to offset some of the reductions in taxes we get when people renovate houses and change the tax status of them from like a full property tax to that 8% tax rate that they can get. And it's for a good cause and stuff, but it becomes to a point where, again, the revenue being generated to the community is reduced. You still want the same amount of services or maybe a little bit more that's created, and then that becomes that stressor. So in the past, we were trying to limit the amount of 8% properties that could get the 8% thing, because we've hit our number, if you will, by the state, that magic 10% of housing, we're at 17, that type of thing. And it's creating a stressor. And every time we try that, you go up against especially now, all the housing people, the housing developments, we need more housing, we need more this, we need more that. Absolutely good arguments, but again, there's always residual effects to everything, right? Everybody talks from their own particular perspective, in their silo, if you will. But looking down the road, how this affects everything else, that's for somebody else to worry about. So going back to this, so this year, from that meeting, I heard somebody mention something. So instead of trying to limit it and go like, well, can we augment it? Meaning, if you're going to go 8%, then the state's going to pick up some additional that tax through our pilot program. Sometimes when you have state buildings in your community or whatever that aren't taxable, the state gives you additional monies to cover that cost, through another mechanism. So maybe that's one of the bills I got in this year. Let's look at it that way. Maybe we can be creative. If we can't slow down the amount of people using this tax break, maybe we can augment it in some way.
Okay, we're going to take our first break here on the Coffee and Program. Comments and questions can be called in at 766-1240. But more coming up with State Senator Roger Pickard here on the Coffee and Program.
Hi, I'm Kathleen LaValle at The Honey Shop. Check out our Facebook page at The Honey Shop RI, and there you'll see a whole list of our new classes and lots of fun things to do. You could join us for making limoncello, pizzas, pasta making, cheese making, so many fun things to do and learn.
Thanks, Kathy. Folks, if you love food, you'll love the Honey Shop, right behind the Dunkin' Donuts at Park Square in Woonsocket.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores.
Have you heard of Scott McGee with Remax Properties? He's been selling real estate in Rhode Island and Massachusetts for the last 17 years, and you can see that he loves what he does. Scott, as well as his team, take pride in what they call the fair and honest team. No gimmicks. And no, they're not buying your house if it doesn't sell, etc. Just fair and honest real estate. Scott personally works with tons of sellers and buyers and specializes in residential properties as well as commercial, and he's always very fair and offers super competitive rates. Remember, this is probably the biggest move in dollars that you will ever spend or receive. You want to go with a trusted and experienced agent. Scott is fair, honest, and modest, always puts the clients first. And he also dealt with literally almost any situation. You really need to look at your real estate needs as a business. You want to pay and get the right money now so that you're not paying for it later. Trust me. So why not give Scott McGee a call at 401-639-2906. That's 401-639-2906.
Coffee In on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callan here with Sue Tesser McKenzie and State Senator Roger Pickard. Sue, time for your first message from the Blackstone Valley Call-In Times. You still liking the new digs?
Yes, but you could have given me a warning
Sorry.
before, you know. So, yes,
My mistake.
really liking the new location, the new
Great.
office. It has been convenient for our customers. They just park in the, I think it's still called the municipal lot from, across from City Hall.
Yep.
And it walk right in. And that lot is, in and out, People are in and out. But it's been working out quite well. We have a lot of things coming on with, contrary to what the weather is telling you today, it is spring. We have Mother's Day and Easter and a lot of different things, Spring Home and God, and we got a lot of things coming up. So if you are looking for delivery of your newspaper, if you have missed the delivery of your newspaper, you can call 767-8522. Anything with regard to classified, you can call Christina at 767-8503. And any advertising questions or any in general questions, by all means, call my cell phone at 487-4136.
All right, Sue, thanks. And we're here with State Senator Roger Pickard. And yes, you're down at the State House, but you work up here in the Woonsocket. You're in the school system. And, things are going good here when you start comparing them what's going on around us. And there was a news story this morning that a principal down in Warwick at a middle school was arrested on St. Patrick's Day for DUI. It's like, wow. And I saw another one up at Abington High School. A kid was arrested, brought a BB gun to school. And then there's everything going on in Brockton. When you first heard that the school committee in Brockton wanted to bring in the National Guard, what were your initial thoughts on that?
Different buckets here, okay,
Okay.
to answer that question. Do I see unruliness? You want to bring it to an extent of violence or even just lack of decorum in the schools? And I don't want anybody to think this is a crisis. Everybody uses that word, I'm just talking about what I see here. There is, and it's really become a little bit more apparent since COVID. When people got to stay home, and now they're coming out and they don't know how, almost like they don't know how to act with each other, that type of thing. And it doesn't only translate into some of the behaviors that you see in school, the unruliness, that type of thing. From my perspective, I'm the attendance officer. It relates to that too. I find it interesting that we use social workers in Woonsocket as attendance officers. Because when I go to a house, the idea is, okay, you're not sending your kid to school. What's going on? I need this, I need that, I need help here. So you try to figure that out, and it's not like when I was a kid, somebody would bunk and go have a cigarette in the men's room, which you can't do anymore, right? You even have on, but that type of, Archie comic book type of, cutting class or something like that. They're a lot more complicated. But now, I'm going out there and I've gotten threatened a couple of times. Well, don't come back here anymore. I can do whatever I want. By the parent.
Okay.
And you go like,
wow.
And you're going like, forget that piece. Going like, why are you upset about me trying to help you try to get your child to school? Why isn't school as important as it seemed to be when I was younger? Now, again,
Are you just seen as another authority figure?
right. And I just want to clarify this, I get to deal with the most at-risk populations in the schools, that type of thing. A lot of parents, a lot of kids are doing especially what they want to do. So that's why when I say about a crisis, to me, a crisis would be like 80 to 90% of the kids are doing that, but it's not necessarily the case, But a few kids creating a lot of trouble can create a lot of trouble for a lot of other people, And I once heard this line on one of those CIS shows that, disruptive people can make non-disruptive people disruptive. I'm changing the words here on the radio, that type of thing.
But I get it.
We all get it.
Because it makes you do something that you don't want to do,
Or would normally do, right?
or normally do, that type of thing. So it gets a residual effect, So, no, it is a challenge. It really is. And I suspect it'll come around again. It's just a matter of regaining our interpersonal skills with one another, just regaining some, how we present ourselves in public and how we work with each other. But that takes time,
Okay. But now back to the question.
I'm sorry.
When you heard about the school committee wanted the National Guard to come in and help out at the high school, did you think that's a poor idea right off the bat, or not a bad idea at all?
I understand the impetus behind it. Bringing in the military in your schools, I think that's scary. I have to admit, I wouldn't want the halls lined with soldiers with
weapons.
displayed weapons, that type of thing. Now, I understand though, if you need to get control of your thing and you're going for whatever you can to reach out to do that, I can understand the premise behind it. I don't necessarily agree with that portion of it.
Okay.
Unless, the idea was, this is shock value. We're just going to say this. It doesn't mean we're going to do this, just to bring attention to this, and then, go from there. Then it was very effective, right? Because it did bring the attention. And it's got a lot more people talking. And it had the whole nation, once again, focusing on this whole thing.
Yeah.
So if it was like one of those ploys to get more attention,
Well, now they say, I don't know if you heard this, but the District of Brockton is hiring a director of security who will be based at the school and is also hiring multiple non-police security guards. All right. Members of the Brockton School Committee recently requested that the National Guard be brought in to restore order at the school because of daily fights and vandalism. The state is paying $83,000 for an independent security site assessment at the school. Doesn't say what it's going to cost to pay these security guards, though, to be there.
Right.
So like for instance, we have SROs, school resource officers. We have some people, and they go around, which, by the way, is really cool. The idea is, people go, oh, we have police in school, they're going to crack down. To me, the idea is for them to meet all the kids, and the kids to meet them.
Yeah.
And that's what I
and
was
that's
just thinking with National Guard. I mean, they can
Right.
turn it into a program with these kids, like after-school programs with the National Guard.
So I don't know if to have SROs, these security.
Yeah.
Now it's hard.
I think
if
they
I know
do,
a little bit
but
more.
it's only one.
You're right.
I look at my daughter who's in a public school in Massachusetts, and there's one school resource officer for 4 schools.
Does it work though?
Well, it's tough to compare Mansfield and Brockton,
Yeah.
inner city to the suburbs.
Yeah, and,
Yeah,
and that's
right.
what you mean.
I could say yes, but
Yeah.
we don't have the issues that Brockton does.
Right. So I don't know. It'd be very interesting to see how they handle all that.
I just wonder
you
who's going to pay for this.
Somebody's
Who's
gonna
paying for the security people that are coming?
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
now would that be able to become a part of the moving the funding instead of, so now you're losing sports or arts because now we have to do this? Is
so
that the type of thing?
if now, so that's a question for like a school committee person
Yeah.
saying, like, I have this X amount of funds, and if I'm like you just said, if I'm spending here and I'm not getting additional money somewhere else, has to be
It's got to
cut.
come from somewhere.
Or
It's
I have a
gotta come from
deficit,
somewhere, yeah.
which creates a whole nother issue.
You talk about it's a small percentage of the bad kids that make other good kids do bad things. And when this whole thing started, I thought of that too. And then within a week, there was a group of Brockton High School teenagers that were doing some STEM research project. I go, and they were brilliant. I go, there are good kids here and smart kids
And
that go there.
everything that the school's offering to everybody the same.
Yeah.
They're exceptional at it, and they're doing well, and they'll move on. And other students will need a little bit more time to be able to reach that goal, I guess.
since we're a few years past the COVID pandemic stuff, where kids were doing everything from home, do you see it's going to take a few more years before the absenteeism rate comes back down? I know the governor's very big on you go to school.
Yeah,
kind of
right.
thing.
Yeah.
His program there.
My initial blush would be yes.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take a few more years for people to get back into, hey, we need some type of routine. We need some type of organization to get our lives back to where they were before. But no, you have that jolt of being at home. And I'm going to compare this to, look at all the businesses with the office across the country. Everybody get to work from home. And now they're trying to bring them back into the office, and they're having troubles doing that. They're doing hybrid models.
Yeah.
They're doing incentive programs. Some are just blatantly saying you either come back or you're not. But the point I'm making is that feeling like I can do this somewhere else, or I can do this differently. The analogy is the same. My kids, they're not going to school, but they're doing okay. So why should I worry about it? And then you go like, well, the potential could be a lot better. That type of thing. And what you see today, you may go, well, your child's capable enough to handle it at this level. But as they keep moving on, and you keep having these days out, and you get these educational gaps in your learning, you're going to hit a wall. You're going to hit a spot where, oh, I don't know this because I wasn't there that day, but now it's required, and it's going to stem out to everything else. So you may be doing well today, but 2 or 3 years down the road, maybe not so.
Okay.
So the short answer is yes, I still think it'll be a couple of years away. And there's a lot of other factors there. But I'll just leave it at that.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you see it as the absenteeism rate high at the high school, better at the middle school, better at the elementary schools, or have I got
Yes,
that
that's
backwards?
exactly how it goes.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, give it another couple of years, right?
No, we keep trying. Yeah, you keep helping, and you see where you can.
All right. I know we got to let Roger go because he's got to get to work. But one more question. It's an election year, and you're up for re-election this year?
That's correct.
Okay. Will you be running for re-election?
I'll let you know in 3 weeks.
Okay. Still kicking it around?
Yes.
Still taking in advice from everybody?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
There's one of those lots of things happening in your own personal life that you have
Sure.
to deal with. So
Okay. Well, good luck with your decision.
thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Roger. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
I
Nice seeing
appreciate
you
it.
again, sir.
Nice seeing you.
All right, and more of the Coffee and program is coming your way. This portion has been sponsored by the Blackstone Valley Call-in Times.
You've heard it before. The world is getting smaller. Places you had to travel to years ago now seem right next door. It's no surprise, then, that all the communities of the Blackstone Valley have so much in common these days that we share common interests. Keeping up with this trend, the Blackstone Valley's 2 daily newspapers, The Call and The Times, have joined forces to cover the entire valley in one convenient newspaper. The Blackstone Valley's Call and Times, a paper for the entire valley. At your local store, honor box, or home delivery, 767-8522.
This forecast is being sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
The National Weather Service has issued a special weather statement cautioning residents about the increase of outdoor fire danger due to extremely low humidity for March and high winds today. Sunny skies with a high of 38, breezy, with winds gusting over 40 miles an hour from the west. Tonight, clear, with an overnight low of 21 degrees and west wind. Friday, sunshine and 43. Friday night, there's a chance of snow mixing with rain, increasing clouds overnight with an overnight low of 31 degrees. Little or no snow accumulation is expected Friday night. Saturday, rain, 100% chance, mainly after 8 a.m., high of 51 degrees, winds from the southeast. Saturday night, rain mixing with snow before ending. Rain could be heavy at times on Saturday night with an overnight low of 30 and north winds over 35 miles per hour. Little or no snow accumulation is expected. Sunday, partly sunny skies with a high of 44 and breeze from the north. Monday, mostly sunny and 43 northeast winds. Tuesday, partly sunny with a high near 43, and on Wednesday, mostly sunny skies with a high of 51.
Currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street, we have sunny skies, 29 degrees. With that wind chill, Sue? 13.
The wind chill, 13 degrees.
All right. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
I got a nice note from Marta at Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse on Social Street in Woonsocket, and she says, "Dear Dave, please tell the people in the audience that Lenten specials are available at Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse. The meat-free offerings are the same that you get each year and can't get anywhere else. Also, looking ahead to Easter, traditional Easter soup is white borscht with kielbasa. Hard-boiled egg and horseradish are available in different styles, and baked or smoked ham on the side. You can pre-order by calling ahead of time. Fulfill your table with wooden hand-painted eggs, breaded lamb and butter lamb. Happy Easter from Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse, voted Best Deli and Best Catering in the Blackstone Valley on the Best of the Blackstone Valley contest. Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse, Social Street, Woonsocket. For an Allstate agent, providing protection options that fit your life is something they take, well, personally. Allstate agents are committed to learning about your needs and helping customize protection to meet them. From bundling your home and auto insurance with ease to evaluating optional coverage, your Allstate agent can help build an insurance proposal that fits your life. And just as important as learning what you need is learning what you don't. Because helping you get coverage you want with savings you deserve is what Allstate is all about. It's time to get coverage that's catered to you. Are you in good hands? Call Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, two locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. One telephone number, 765-5000. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Allstate Property and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hello, this is Manny Brando. I hope you will listen to us each Sunday morning at 8:30. I will sing your favorite songs, and my wife Virginia will organize everything.
That's right, Manny. It's the Manny and Virginia Show every Sunday morning at 8:30 on ON, AM, and FM radio.
It's Coffee and on ON. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with Sue Tessier and McKenzie.
Joe.
And State Senator Roger Pickard had to go, but Dave Richards is here. Hello
Hi
there,
there.
Dave.
Joe,
Yes,
I'd like to
David.
call out another Radio Square. Is now a good time?
Yes, now's a great time.
All righty. Here's a sponsor square from game card number 3. Let's call it out right now. It's Fast Eddie's Cocktails and Dreams. Cross that off, and if that makes a line of 5 for you in any direction, then what you got to do is give us a call, 762-1240, without delay. And you can be certified to play for $300 cash a week from Saturday.
This portion of the Coffee and program is being sponsored by attorney Bob Lauder. Bob could not
I'll
be
raise
with us.
my hand for that, too.
Yes, Bob cannot be with us this week. He's got court to get to. Sometimes he's got early court cases, and he just can't be here. So we get it. So hopefully Bob can be with us next week. But Dave's going to talk about Bob Lauder's office.
Yes, and it's probably going to sound familiar to people who've been with us for a very, very long time, because I've been with Bob for a very, very long time. And the things that you need to know about the guy, if you don't know him, are that, first of all, he's an excellent lawyer. He's been my personal attorney and company attorney for years and years and years and years. Why? Because we always end up with a good result. Bob will lay out for me all the possibilities, and I'll select a course of action. He'll say, "Are you sure about this? Because here's the downside." And I'll say, "Yep," because it's a downside to everything, Joe. And I'll say, "Yep, this is how we're going to go." And then there's never another discussion about it. So if you want somebody who's going to show you your options and not try to dictate things to you, some people don't like that, then Bob's the guy for you. Now, I will caution you on something. If you get yourself into a part of law that isn't the general things that he takes care of every day, he'll send up the alarm and say, "Dave, I don't do these this often." Yes, I could do it for you, but you'd be better off with someone who does it all the time. You know? And so he'll say, "Okay, so-and-so is a good, honest lawyer. They'll take care of you. Let me know how things are working out." Now, you can't do better than that, because you pay a lawyer for advice. And if the advice is, if the advice is I'm the wrong lawyer for you, you
That's
want
good advice.
a guy to tell you that, don't you? And it's actually happened to me. And Bob has always had the answers that I respect, and we've always had good results. So no matter what it is, and right now these days he's concentrating mostly on wills and trusts and things like that, and Bob's taking care of us with that, and other normal, pedestrian things, selling real estate. You need to have a title search and the general stuff, or even a divorce or something like that. Which, thank goodness, after 54 years, Denise still likes me. It's
just too much bother to get rid of you, Dave.
but I bet you Bob would make it simpler.
I probably would.
Yeah, except that he's my lawyer. She can't have it. I'm just kidding. So anyway, that's Bob Larder. He's on Blackstone Street in Woonsocket, right across from the big brick church in the lovely little lavender wooden used to be a church. You can park in the big brick church's parking lot directly across the street by mutual agreement. So you have a place to park right there. Go on by and see Bob to explain your problems to him. He's not going to charge you. Call him up. 762-4550.
All right, thanks, Dave. And we did get a note that was called in, 766-1240, a little bit lengthy. The increasing...
By the way, he was a winner in Best of the Blackstone Valley, wasn't he?
Yes, he has silver medal.
Yeah.
Best lawyer.
Yeah.
Note that was called in, the increasing and confusing of this chaotic migrant crisis. Yes, crisis. And let me be bold, but it's true. This caller says it's all on President Biden. He didn't examine his move when he was elected, and when he allowed 100,000 to be let loose. Now that has turned into millions of unwanted migrants. An idiotic and shallow decision. I can't and will not vote for him. But then you get Trump, a dictator in the making. So I am perplexed. The caller is perplexed. And maybe they'll put in a write-in. Or maybe they'll look at RFK Jr. No,
It's his only chance.
Who, RFK's?
Yeah, he should have his name legally changed to none of the above. Yeah.
And that'll be elected.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Appear on the ballot as none of the above, and he'll win.
Maybe RFK's campaign people should say that we've been hearing, something along the lines of, we've been hearing a lot of around the country that people don't want either one. Hey, there's me. Please remember me.
Right.
And you're right. A lot of people are saying
You're
exactly
no worse
that.
off.
I don't know if you say that.
Give the rookie a try.
That's
You're
better.
no worse off.
I couldn't do any worse, right?
I'm younger.
Veterans are on a losing
Guys.
streak. Give the rookie a try.
Pros and cons. Do a pros and cons list.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Okay.
Well, that's very tough, and we certainly understand that. Sometimes leaders are victims of circumstance. For instance, of course, Mr. Biden inherited the problem at the southern border. We don't have a problem at the northern border.
We're starting to.
Really?
I'm starting to hear about people crossing over from Canada.
Well, that's only because, there's just so many people can cross in the south, so they say, "Oh, I'll just go in the back door,"
Yeah.
which is the north. But that's not. It's nothing like the problem
Nothing what's
down
happening
south.
down there, yeah.
Nothing like the problem that's going down south. But we don't have the. See, Canada is with us on this. They're on the same page and the same playbook, and they're trying to maintain that border's integrity as well. We've had varying commitment from Mexico regarding the southern border, and Mexico's got severe problems, really severe problems. They have cartels trying to run the government and things like that. And it's not an easy thing, and we're not saying they're bad people. We're simply saying that we have varying commitments, and we're not on the same page down there. So that's the situation there. Also, people in Mexico that are coming over aren't necessarily Mexican citizens, which makes it more difficult for them. The ones that are coming over on the northern border aren't Canadians.
No.
The Canadians are obeying the rules. It's the ones that come into Canada and then break the rule trying to get into the U.S. So that's what the issue is. It's people from countries that aren't our borders, neighbors, coming in. So we get all that. So sometimes these things are circumstantial. On the other hand, when you're running for president, you have to figure out what the big challenges are going to be ahead of time so that if you are successful, you have some inkling of what to do. And unfortunately, what I've observed is that Mr. Biden did not have a clear end game for what's going on at the southern border. He knew it was a problem. He did not have a commitment to a particular way of getting it solved before he got into office. And then once you're in office, the confusion of the early months and stuff will slow down your progress toward reaching some sort of a conclusion. And then you've got the time it takes to rally the troops. The only thing that did it for Mr. Biden, unfortunately, after 3 years of indecision and just letting things go and letting the bureaucrats decide things, the only thing that helped him galvanize a decision was re-election. And it's really obvious because it was only now out of his third year that he is making any decisions at all and taking a stand that seems to be different than reality, than just letting things go. And that's not good leadership. I don't know I don't know if he deserves to be fired for that. People will have different opinions on that. But it does not look good on him. And he's going to have that around his neck for the next several months while he campaigns for re-election. So that's where you are. Is he a bad man? I'm not willing to go that far. Was he unprepared for this? Yeah, because he decided not to prepare ahead of time, and that is not good leadership. But everybody makes mistakes on the job. Everybody makes mistakes on the job.
Okay.
And you just don't want them to be the kind of mistakes that you lose a job over.
So, but speaking of migrants, we got two migrant stories in the news. A man who's from Brazil, who's in the country illegally,
Where the nuts come from.
was picked.
Brazil.
Was picked up in Massachusetts, and he was being transported down to Central Falls, going to the Wyatt Detention Center, and escaped from federal custody in the van while the van was moving, which is pretty impressive.
They wouldn't stop it for him to get out.
Well, no. This happened back at the end of February.
Doing what comes naturally.
They said he was making several attempts to escape from the van while he was in full restraints. First, he tried to unlock the door by pulling on the lock with his teeth. Then, according to a press release, this must be a small guy because he squeezed himself through a small gap between the vehicle's rear cage and the passenger side window and into the vehicle's storage compartment, where he pulled the emergency release pull tab, opening the rear door, and jumped out onto the highway.
While still being
While it was still moving.
restrained?
Yes. Now, after exiting the transport van, he ran down the middle of the highway and disappeared, but he was picked up about a quarter of a mile away. He was hiding behind a building in Waltham, Massachusetts.
Wow.
I can't get these things off me, kind of thing. But so now he's got more things to account for, and I don't know if they're going to send him back to Brazil. He said he crossed into the country illegally in Arizona. I don't know how he made it up here to Massachusetts, but he did. The other one is
There's roads, Joe.
that's right. It's a long walk though.
The other one is Taunton.
The other is Taunton. Is absolutely right. I don't know if you heard what's going on. Taunton, Massachusetts has one hotel, and they're now being sued by the city of Taunton because they're overcrowded. They're only supposed to have between 360 and 380 people in the hotel when it's at full capacity. They're about at 450, 460, around there.
Yeah.
So now the city is suing the hotel $114,000
Lack of
to
compliance.
for being overcrowded, yet they're taking in the migrants because the state is sending it to them. So who's wrong?
I'm a victim of
The hotel
circumstance.
you still have a compliance. You still have a compliance. You still have a compliance. That's all I can say. You if you exceed that, now the fire department can step in because that's your compliance. How many events did we have that we could not have? You couldn't sell this number of tickets. Now I understand the government and all these others are involved, but you still have compliance that you're not supposed to exceed that number.
But if the bus shows up and say, okay, we've hit
then
380.
you say no. Then you say no.
Well, then where do they go? Do we put them back on the bus and send them back to what, Logan Airport?
You have to send them somewhere. If you are over capacity,
Send
you got
them
to
to
send
City
them
Hall.
somewhere.
Taunton City Hall.
Send them somewhere, anywhere. But if you're at capacity, you're at capacity. I mean, that's like
The only logistic thing I can think about that, though, Dave, if you're the one driving the bus, you think, okay, take these people to this hotel, drop everybody off, and come back. Now I'm stuck with 60
but
people. What do I do with
there's
them?
a lack of communication.
Well, yes, I agree on
obviously.
that.
All right, look. That was a dumb statement because we all know that. But the hotel, to whoever's sending them, because somebody's calling the hotel. They're not just driving them there.
Well, yeah, they know they're coming.
So there has to be there's a lack of communication there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're over capacity. Now that organization that was going to bring them there now needs to look somewhere else.
I just wonder if the state said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Take them anyway."
Well, and
the
that's
hotel
and
said,
guess what? That
"All
just may
right."
come out. That just may come
Maybe
out.
it
So
will.
now the mayor says, "Well, hold on, then. That's nobody talked to me about this."
Mm-hmm.
So that just brings in a whole lot of other stuff. But
A lot of
at
other
the end of the
questions.
day, you're over capacity, and something happened there. You're
Something's already
talking
happening there.
lawsuit. You're talking. I mean, I'm talking a fire that people die.
Well, they're getting a lot more calls for police action at that
Exactly.
hotel since the migrants have shown up there.
Right.
So it's a Clarion hotel, in case you're wondering, and they're the ones that are actually being sued, but they just haven't paid for, I think, since the beginning of the year. So the fees just keep going up and up. And now the city is going to sue them, and we'll see if that actually goes anywhere.
And that's probably the
And the migrants are still there.
the alternative that they got to was like, okay, the only thing you could try to do is this, but total lack of communication all the way around.
And I just wonder if the state said, take them anyway, and we don't care.
Yeah,
So,
you never
okay.
know. Bring them in the lawsuit.
Yes, I agree that the city should sue the state because of that, if that's the case.
No, Clarion can sue the state
Yes, they can. They can counter
for
them.
everything
yeah,
that the state
that's
sues
where it
them
would
for,
go.
and just say, listen, we're getting sued by our municipality
Yeah.
because
The state.
you're
You
sending us
said.
people,
Yeah.
so you're going to pay all those fines.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you're going to pay for the people you send us, and please don't send us more than 380.
Don't send us anymore. We're already at capacity.
Right.
We can't take any more. All right, we're going to take a break here in the Coffee and program, and more is coming your way. This portion of Coffee and has been sponsored by attorney Bob Lauder. When you need a skilled attorney who will fight for your rights, look no further than attorney Bob Lauder of Woonsocket. If your legal questions revolve around estates or trusts, then talk to Bob. If you're contemplating a divorce, then talk to Bob. Attorney Bob Lauder has a calming demeanor, which is very helpful in legal matters, and Bob has more than 40 years' experience practicing law. Call attorney Bob Lauder today at 401-762-4550, 762-4550. The Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice.
Now, how many businesses in Woonsocket can you name that have recently tripled in size? Now, one comes to mind right away: Woonsocket Discount Liquors, formerly Champs Liquors. You know, the walls were kind of closing in with our location down on Clinton Street, so they moved up to the Woonsocket Plaza on Diamond Hill Road. Lots of rooms there. Changed their name to Woonsocket Discount Liquors. Tripling their size means that you have a much wider selection to choose from at Woonsocket Discount Liquors, next to Burlington Coat Factory on Diamond Hill Road in the Woonsocket Plaza, Woonsocket.
One of our gold medal winners in the best of the Blackstone Valley is Marshan Environmental of Blackstone. They won gold in the category of septic service. They also won silver in the junk removal dumpsters category. For information, visit marshanenvironmental.com, one of the best of the Blackstone Valley.
What would you do with $300 in cash? To find out, play the Valley Breeze ON Radio Squares contest all this week, exclusively in the Valley Breeze newspapers and right here on ON AM and FM radio.
Thanks for joining us here on the Coffee and program. Joe Callahan along with Dave Richards and Sue Tesser McKenzie. Bob Lauder could not
Hi
be with
there.
us this week. And we'll get Dave's point on this one, and you too, Sue. I don't know if you do this for your entertainment purposes, but story that we have here: more viewers are turning to streaming services for entertainment, news, and sports. This is according to a new Nielsen report called The Gauge.
And I found out why just
What?
recently in my own home.
Why you're streaming more than watching
Well,
over the air?
I actually, in my case, I'm not streaming. I mean, I do stream, but we don't stream at home with the family on the big screen TV. It's just we've got other things. Denise owns the remote, and there you go. I mean, she watches whatever she wants to watch. But there was, and I forget what the circumstances were. There was one evening, not so long ago, where we were on an ABC network channel, an over-the-air ABC network channel, and then their primetime lineup came on, and I looked at it, and we tried to get through it. There's a new password out.
New game show.
And so anyway, we got a chance to see what they're offering on network TV over the air, and we said to ourselves, no wonder people are watching 70-year-old black and white TV shows on their TV screens, because
It's poor.
This is 1 hour to tell a 4-minute story. And it's just like repeating, and every time you come back from a commercial, you wind the tape back 3 minutes and start again. I said, "Oh my goodness, this is bankrupt minds."
Sue, do you stream?
Nope.
No. Okay.
No.
No antenna,
You're not,
cable,
you're not a
anything.
big,
I have
you're not a
cable.
big TV
All right.
watcher, right?
Well, I like my channels. I like my shows. I just don't have the time to even
Right.
look into the possibility, and it's
Years ago, I knew you would be up cooking something,
right.
or doing
so I'm not
chocolate
in
or
there.
something
It's
else like
I'm,
that. You're
exactly.
Not, you
I'm
don't,
listening.
You don't do the couch potato thing.
No, God, no,
Streaming.
No.
Never have.
no.
Streaming is at its highest, and it's been in 6 months. Over a third of all TV viewership is on a streaming platform now. That's compared to just 27% on cable, 23% on broadcast.
So, Joe,
it's just keeps going up.
now might be an appropriate time to ask yourself, why did stupid Dave spend all that money in 1998 to start developing streaming television?
Well, because of this. So, but
What do you think we're on right now?
But right, but you're right about the programs. My daughter, not a fan anymore. I don't know. Maybe she outgrew it or what. I'm gonna call out a show here. I hope it's not one of your favorites. But The Voice. Watch The Voice.
What a disappointment.
I've watched it.
Okay. I'm like, this is killing me.
It's a
watching
soap
it.
opera, yeah.
It should have. I go, and it's an hour long. I go, this can be done in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's driving me crazy how much they are dragging this out.
Yeah.
And I know they're going to make it an hour. And it's like, oh, this is terrible, terrible. But I guess it does well.
Another thing that
is-
Denise likes is the renovation shows that you'll see on some pay cable channels, right? And they've got their stars and stuff like that, and you go through. And I'm usually
Some of those are fun.
I'm usually very interested in seeing how they solve problems with water or termites or something like that. I want to see what the case histories are. You learn a little something from it, right? But I will be off doing something else on a computer in the same room while she's watching that stuff, because when it gets to 56 or 54 minutes past the hour, they come to the last break of the show, and they say, "You want to see a fixer-upper?" And oh yeah, really,
the big
and
reveal.
then they got it right. They got to go to a break. Then you come back after 2 or 3 minutes of commercials, and they say,
They
"You
repeat it
want to
again.
see a fixer-upper?" Yeah, sure. And so they open. Ooh, and being a production guy, I know that they that when they do those things, the homeowners have to sign papers. If they make an exclamatory remark, it cannot involve a deity, because people will see it as blasphemous in some areas of the country, and this is nationally broadcast. So you cannot hear them say, "Oh my God." They've got to say, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, all right.
That sort of a thing.
Right.
So I know from a production standpoint that this is pretty well rehearsed.
Oh,
you can
yeah,
get that.
absolutely,
Because,
absolutely.
I don't know if,
But it's all like
But
the
go back to the
saccharin.
voice
I mean,
too.
Okay, go back to
you
The Voice.
mentioned. Now the voice is good. I don't watch religiously, whatever. However, I've never heard of any of the winners getting anywhere.
well, that's not true.
Well, no,
You know
I'm
what?
saying I've never heard
I've
of
seen
them. I
them.
didn't say they
Yeah.
don't.
You know
I've
what?
seen them.
But
I'm
they-
sorry. I mentioned the wrong show. Not The Voice. The Masked Singer.
Oh,
is what I'm thinking of.
well,
I'm
that's
so-
that's
I'm
the
so
Gong
sorry.
Show on wheels. That's
I'm
all.
sorry. I mentioned the. And that's a big difference.
That's yeah,
You're
no.
right.
Oh, huge
The Voice
difference.
is going on, but the
I've
Masked
never
Singer-
seen the Masked Singer. I've never seen. I know what it.
They can wrap it up in 15 minutes. It
I
takes
know
an
the
hour.
premise. I know all of it, but I've never
Oh,
watched
okay.
it.
All right. It's the Masked Singer that's
Yeah.
pretty bad. The Voices bring in talented people.
Yeah, but
to
I
sing.
just
That's
don't
different.
know the celebrity voices the judges
But I-
Yeah.
are great. Mm-hmm. But I've not heard of like the Kelly Clarkson.
To go on to other things.
Right. And I'm sure they do. I'm sure they
Some-
do.
some do.
But, I just don't, it's not that,
I can't remember if it was The Voice or it was American Idol, but Adam Lambert
he was American Idol.
wasn't American.
Yeah.
He came in second.
And look where
And
he is.
now he's a major star.
Look where he is.
Yeah, so.
A number of them have gone places, but I just, I'd like more follow-up.
But
maybe
they would
on
have
that
gone
with The
places
Voice.
anyway with that kind of talent, I think. Opportunities
I
are
don't-
very
I
good.
don't think
They
so.
had to get the opportunity to get on the
They
show to be
had to-
recognized.
exactly.
Queen would never have seen Adam Lambert if they weren't watching
If
the
he
show.
wasn't recognized, exactly.
And Brian May and Roger Taylor, guitarist and drummer for Queen, were watching and said,
Absolutely.
"Hey, how about this guy?"
Yep,
So,
Okay.
opportunity.
absolutely.
You're right about the show. I do enjoy the show Bar Rescue, but the ending is always the same.
Yeah, right.
3, 2, 1, turn around, ooh ah, and then they cut for commercial,
And-
come back. Okay, 3, 2, 1, everybody turn around again.
3 cups of saccharin and you're going into diabetic shock. That's the way I'm looking at it. That's very, very difficult. And by the way, Joe, before we go any further,
All right.
I want to apologize to the Gong Show for having besmirched their reputation that way. The original Gong Show, to me, was
Funny?
a piece.
The premise, you mean?
No, it was a piece of history in our broadcasting business. And I appreciate it tremendously. It's one of the few things I will actually stream on my computer
And
when
watch
I've
old
got
Gong
some
shows?
time.
Yeah.
Watch old Gong shows because I look at shows differently. In the 70s, rather, when that first came out, I listened to all the controversy, and I heard, and they all had valid arguments. Oh, well, you're dropping the standards of broadcasting. And I looked at it and says, it's just a joke. It's nothing worse than the Three Stooges. It's just updated, you know.
With
and-
music.
Right, with music and with a prize and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I said, but seriously speaking, it's not the worst thing that's on television. It makes an attempt to entertain, and it's all tongue-in-cheek. If they were trying to do that straight, forget about it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just totally a big laugh. So I apologize to the Gong Show for comparing it to The Masked Singer.
There was a show that came out. I don't know if you remember this. During the Gong Show time, Rip Taylor, was that the comedian?
Rip
Yeah.
Taylor
Was the host.
One of the panelists.
No, he hosted
Oh,
this
that's
show,
right, he
the
spun off.
$1.98 beauty show, and that's what the contestant won, $1.98
$1.98,
in
yeah.
coins, and he click it out on that thing, and here you go.
Yep.
All right, things you got to worry about that you really have no control over, but a pilot with Delta Airlines from Atlanta, Georgia, is going to spend some time in a Scottish jail. Captain Lawrence Russell was scheduled to fly from Scotland to New York City last June before security reportedly found an open bottle of liquor in his bag at the airport.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's a big FAA no-no.
And then they tested his blood alcohol, and it was twice the legal limit for a pilot.
Oh.
There's
a legal limit for a pilot?
I don't know if
Seems
it's
to
di- I
me
don't know if
that
it's different.
0 would be the legal limit for
Yeah,
a
right.
pilot on a commercial airline.
I don't
I
know
would
what
think
the legal.
so.
Well, twice the legal limit. So maybe it's I don't know. I don't know what it could be. 0.01 for a pilot.
Yeah, right. You can have
I don't know.
half a beer. I don't know either.
Yeah, I would hope they would have none. But
Well, one would think, but
so he got 10 months in jail
Yeah.
for this over there in Scotland.
And just try to get some errors and omissions insurance, and just try to get somebody to hire you.
So I mentioned this.
that's
I
crazy.
mentioned this to Dave earlier in the day. I don't think Sue heard it, but there's no there's no shortage of not very smart people in this world. Sue, and there's a
We don't have to look far to find one, you're saying.
Right.
and there's
There always seems to be another one coming along.
absolutely.
There's a skier at Mammoth Mountain, California. It looks like he's walking to his car because it's in the parking lot, and he sees an animal. Turns out to be a coyote. So he reaches his hand out to pet the coyote. Coyote bit him in the hand.
Oh my God!
And so now it's rabies shots for this guy.
Wow.
So yeah,
Of course, years ago, people like this died from their stupidity. Today,
He's not going
with today's
to.
medicine, they don't.
right.
But, it was almost like outbreeding the stupidity out of the human race until medical science reversed that progress.
Wow, unbelievable though. I See, I won't pet a dog or whatever until you
So,
ask
you know,
the owner.
The owner, yeah. No owner with the coyotes.
Exactly. That's my point.
So stay away from
you
the
know,
stray dogs.
and owners want that. I mean, look with the what was
yeah.
just going around with pets, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't want you to just go in at your dog. I mean, that's
Oh yeah, dog might bite you.
that's their child.
Dog could
you know?
misunderstand the whole thing.
Yeah.
I got bit by a dog. I don't know, 2 years ago on the job. The dog was at a customer's business, and the dog had come, sniffed around my legs and whatnot. And so I'm thinking I'm okay. So I'm conversing with the owner and whatnot, and then I bent down to pet the dog, right there with the owner. But
Yeah,
I was
gotcha.
wearing a charm bracelet, and I think that's what did it.
Something
So
sparkly.
I got bit, and I
Wow.
just felt horrible. I wasn't angry, upset at anyone but myself because I'm put that dog in that position. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
And you
it
just didn't
wasn't the
realize it.
dog. Right.
fault.
And the only thing I can figure is it was my bracelet that startled the dog. And yeah, I felt awful. Awful.
Yeah. You okay afterwards?
Yeah, I'm
you're all
good,
right. All right.
but I wouldn't. You have to do that. I mean, they recommend you go get checked, so on and so
Right.
forth. And I guess the key is if the dog has died at some point, recent, it's because they had rabies or something. It was this big long, Department of Health called you and all that.
All right, we gotta get going. We've run out of time on the program, and we want to thank State Senator Roger Pickard for joining us this morning, and Sue, thanks for joining us as well.
Have a great week and have a wonderful rest of the day.
All right, and Dave, thanks for popping in for the last half hour.
Yeah, boy, I was enjoying listening to Roger earlier in the program.
Yeah,
Enjoyed
me
being
too.
with you guys here in the last portion of the program. Just make it a good day, everyone.
All
We'll
right.
see you tomorrow.
This is Joe Callahan. Have yourself a great day, and stay tuned for Gary Smith and the crew with Do You Remembers at 9:30 on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news.
East Providence business owners are seeking financial relief due to the impact of the Washington Bridge crisis on their bottom lines. With an estimate of at least 2 years to replace the westbound side of the bridge, they told the City Council this week that they need